Hello people, Easy Rider here and welcome to my next video. Today we're going to start a new series of Ohio motorcycle destinations. This first one will be about the Gnadenhutton Indian Massacre. Stay with me. And welcome back. Today is the 5th of November 2022. Ironically, it's pretty warm out today, like in the 70s, and normally it'd be really cold and snowing, so ironically, as I said, this is an Indian summer. No pun intended. Anyway, this is a pretty somber spot. Back in the 1880s, during the Revolutionary War, the official number is 96, but it could be anywhere between 96 and 100 innocent people were brutally murdered at this spot. It was horrific what happened. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a background of why it happened and what exactly happened at the time. Now, it's easy 200 some odd years later to look back and say, these people were evil, and it was an evil thing. Let me start out by saying 100% this was totally unjustified. The people that were killed here were totally innocent. Even Benjamin Franklin denounced it while he was in France at the time, because not only was it evil, but it made us look pretty stupid. What was going on? Why did it happen? It wasn't just an isolated incident. Things were going on that made this happen, and it's a windy day, so if there's wind noise, I apologize. So again, it was back in the late 1800s. The Revolutionary War was in full swing, mostly on the east coast of the United States. Here in Ohio, this was pretty much the western part of the United States, or what was to be the United States at that part. It was pretty much every man for himself, and it was a lawless spot. It had a bunch of different groups of people living out here. You had the American settlers, you had Indians, and you had the English army. They were all kind of cohabitating out here. So anytime you have a disparate group of people, you're going to have conflicts. Most of the people, I'd say like any other time on Earth, 95% of the people just wanted to live their lives in peace and not be bugged by other people. And of course you had the 5% that just going to raise hell no matter what happens. So during the Revolutionary War, the English came to the western, which would be the western front here, and it was a smart move on their part. They riled up some Indians up by the Detroit area, who were pretty warlike to begin with, to start attacking the western frontier of the colonies. Makes sense, to keep people busy here so they can't recruit people to go to the East Coast to fight. So from the English point of view, it was a pretty good move. So you would have raiding parties coming from the Detroit area down into the Ohios, into the Pennsylvania area, and raiding and looting and pillaging and just carrying on. And that went on for a while. You had different groups of Indians here. The group that was right here in this town of Gnadenhutton, the locals I think pronounce it Gnadenhutton or Gnadenhutton. The group of Indians here were Christian converts to the Moravians. The Moravians were a group of Christian missionaries that would learn the language of the natives and then translate the scriptures into that language, and that way making it easier for different groups of people to accept Jesus. So anyway, they had a pretty good group here, and was their flock. Now the Indians that were in Detroit area would come through here, and they didn't like the Indians here because the Indians were peaceful, and they made peace both with the other Indians and with the Americans. So they thought that the Indians here were traitors. So they would harass these guys and just treat them pretty nasty. You also had a bit of the Continental Army in a fort. I don't remember the name, but all these details will be in the description below. Just south of here. And like I said, you had a couple different groups of Indians, some good, some bad, and and then settlers and whatever, all living in this area here. The English were trying to get, keep the people busy out here so they wouldn't go in the war, so they sent raiding parties up into Pennsylvania. They did that for a year, and the people of Pennsylvania grouped together and they were going to come out and fight, and that never really happened. And then the next year, another raiding party came through and really raised hell. They killed some people, and they actually killed a woman and her daughter and impaled them on a pole right at the Ohio River. And this seriously pissed off a lot of people, and they had it. So they got a group of about 100 some odd settlers mounted up on horses and headed this way. While that was all going on, the Gnadenhutton people here, the Indians that were the badder Indians, or the more warlike Indians, had taken them all to Detroit, and because they didn't trust them over here. But a whole bunch of them came back here after a while because they were starving up in Detroit and they had a lot of food here. So there were about, say 96 is the number of American Indians and stuff that were over here and trying to collect food. At this time, the Pennsylvanians were coming looking for, Indians to kill, basically. And they were pretty pissed. So they found that these guys were here, and they kind of walked into here and acted like they were friends and fooled them. And then a whole bunch came out, and they finally put them all in a building. And I'll walk around later and show you what the buildings would look like. They were all burnt down, but these are reenactment buildings. And they put them in there. They had women on one building, men on the other side. And then the next morning, they brutally killed them by hit them over the head with mallets and stuff. It was totally brutal. And then they burnt them. It was horrific. Now, again, looking back 200 years, and like I said, there's no excuse for what they did, but looking back to where it was and the time it was, the people that lived out here, there was no armies really, there was no police, there was no SWAT. You kind of were on your own, and you kind of had to take matters in your own hands. And when that happens, then you end up with mob rule. Even today, you go in the Middle East, and stuff like this happens. So there's no excuse for it, but it is what it is. But anyway, 96 people lost their lives. Even right now, you can still feel it here. If you have, any type of empathy, you can feel just the death and the murder that went on here. It's pretty horrible. So, like I said, there's a lot more to the story. I'm going to leave a link in the description below, and you can read it up. I think it's totally interesting. So I'm going to walk around. I'll just show you a few things. This building here is a reenactment of the town center, meeting hall, church kind of building. Again, the real ones were all burnt down at the time. It's all locked up right now. You can actually come here, and they have a welcome center where they show you around and on the inside and stuff. Here it's kind of hard. I'll pan up and see it. There's a big monument for the people that died here. Like I said, it was a horrific time. Over in the front by my motorcycle there, you see, I don't want to get too close because it's really windy and it'll be noisy right there. That's the burial mound where they all ended up at, and there's the museum and welcome center. Anyway, if you're coming through Ohio and you want to stop at a seriously, intense historic site, this is in Gnadenhutton, Ohio. Just look it up on your GPS or Google, and it'll show you how to get here. And like I said, you could still feel, just well, it's also in a graveyard too. You could still feel just the horrendous death and destruction that happened here. But anyway, that's history. History ain't always pretty. Hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a good thumbs up and like. Don't forget to subscribe, and when I come up with some more destinations, I'll put them up. Anyway, have a great day.